Hey, welcome team. So I wanted to do a little brainstorm session with everybody so we can all stay focused. I know how hard it is to stay focused in this game because they have done that on purpose to make it so complex that we cannot hold accountability to any of them. So, anyways, we can. We actually have help so we can finally get this done. Wouldn't have been able to do it without our president. So, please know that. Where I think we should head to now as a collective is, in general, the people need to decide that risk is not enough for the government to act. If you notice, we have acted on risk as far as this COVID. And right now, the government is handling a lot of HHS using the COVID. So, kind of give you more of an idea of the battle that's going on within, too. But I think as the people, we have to peacefully establish risk is not enough to act, and that would pertain to the child welfare and everybody else under them, including the CDC. When does something become enough for the government to act? What is the threshold? The threshold, say, there was a risk of being on fire or risk of a house catching on fire. Well, the risk isn't enough until there's a spark and then that fire starts, then the government can act. So unless that house is on fire, you do not run in. And we all know it that has to do with. Um, so if you want to pick one or two of these, whichever one you've been impacted by the most, I personally, child welfare services are the ones who use the police department. And Osiris is hitting the child support, which is important because they have gone way, way beyond their legal capacity and abilities and rights against the people using that. They want dads in the picture and then they go and do that, really, right? Dads ain't gonna want to work. Totally defeats the purpose. And that's what they do. Anyways, we all know what they do. So let's go ahead and focus on risk, not enough for the government to act. So somewhere in this game, we need to apply this. As a general rule, Supreme Court's got to do this one. It just needs to be done. They cannot act based on risk. So we need to attack every arm aspect and legality that they break. They don't follow one of their WIC rules in that book. The WIC books, Welfare and Institution books, there's like a lot of them. But the one that we into child welfare usually deal with is the 300s, around that area. Before that, it has to do with their STARS program and all their other stupid programs, the permissions that they're given. Ridiculous. You should hear what they actually say in this book. One of the things they actually say is that child welfare is not responsible for any damage or injuries that happen to a child they place in foster care. So even if they remove your child for risk, never even been hurt, and that child goes into a foster home and gets hurt, they actually waived any responsibility in that book. It's ridiculous. Whoever did this had the intent to destroy our country. You can go down all the rabbit holes you want. They'll all give you the right answer. The fact of the matter is we need to save it, so we will. So we're going to not go into the WIC books unless we decide to attack their 4E, Title 4E. That's the way to attack that, because they do not follow Title 4E whatsoever and what they preach about to get those funds. Actually, yeah, that's what they do, is they say they're doing XYZ. We all know they're not, but the people funding them, the federal government, hasn't heard enough of our stories. They know. Of course they know. Everybody knows. But they need evidence. They need proof. They can't act without evidence. They can't act without proof. or action. But these guys can. How? Who did that? Not us. So, one huge thing that I have not been able to figure out, and I actually just asked a friend who's a lawyer, a very, very, very good lawyer, what a child is in relationship to a parent. Because it's weird because you don't have property rights and you're not held as a criminal in these courts. It's quasi-criminal, if not civil, when it fits them best. We have liberty interests. Thank you, David Jose, for that. But that's an interest of a property or a freedom or a right. A right of what? So I need to know how a child is held by a parent. Because if you're held liable for a child that does damage to something or somebody, as if it was you, you're held responsible financially, XYZ, then are they part of you? Are they your property? Like if a dog bit somebody and you have to pay, the dog is property. So far, I can only establish that a juvenile is a thing. And that's in one of the other videos, how I break that one down logically. That's one thing I'm really good at, is seeing right through their bull. So anyways, here's some of the things that they do. If you want to attack, we got services violate self-incrimination law. So in order to do their services that they require, which they cut and paste these services for everybody, whether or not you have broken a law, whether or not, whatever, they establish the same ones. They want you to do mental health establishment. They want you to do drug assessment, drug court, drug meetings, child education, parent education. Meet with them once a week. I mean, and they want you to have a job. Yeah, okay. But basically, in order to do their services, one, you have to admit, in order to get into their drug programs and be funded, you have to admit that you've done drugs to these people or have done them within the last year. I actually made the phone call and effort, and they wanted me over the phone to confess that I had done drugs in the last year, and I said, no, I haven't, but you're a requirement for me to do. And they said, but we can't help you then. I said, I know that, but this is required of me. So unless I confess to a crime that I didn't commit, and I know there's a lot of other legal terms to that, I can't do their services, and therefore they're holding hostage my child. So that's one angle. We got that guy. Familiar rights. That's when you sue them in the civil federal court. Quid pro quo. That's what they're doing. If you do this, we'll do this. If you do what we say, we'll give you your kid back. I will never negotiate with terrorists. And that's what these people are. My kids are safe. Mind you, I still stalked their asses the night they took her. And I found her. Okay? I did. I don't think they understand the monster that they will create. And I'm not saying in me. I'm saying in general. Because we are American. Can't mess with those. Oversight. See, I always assumed it was the DOJ, the FBI that oversaw the states, because the Civil War, we won that as far as federal oversees states in general, because the federal law oversees state laws, and the Constitution would override any state laws that went against it, we thought. But when you got a bad FBI and a bad DOJ that commingle with the bad guys that are breaking in your house and stealing your kids, they have dinner, lunches together, parties together, they drink together. They're buddies. You think you're going to get any of them to do the right thing? When it comes to the people, you're not. It's now an us versus them mentality. hopefully Barr will fix that. He understands how fragile the situation is. If he does anything that is right to the people, the bad guys up in his department accuse him of being a Trump loyalist, which even if he was, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with liking your president. I'm sorry. But also, a huge part of this is there is foreign influence. I have actually just discovered my county council female that I've been battling all the way up to the Supreme Court of California. She has been intermingled with Soros. She's part of the Soros Optimist group. She gets about $100,000 a year in that alone. Who knows what they're doing with it? I'll audit it eventually. But the fact that she is the sole proprietor, her family's organization is the ones dealing with Soros, a little bit of a conflict. Also, there has been foreign influence up high in California government. It hasn't been proven yet, but in general, if they are from Sacramento, since they were a child, nobody goes to Sacramento. It's hell there, it's hot, it's ugly, nobody even knew where it was. We all grew up in the Bay, we all grew up in LA. Nobody goes to Sac unless they have to. Tawny, Becerra. It's Daddy's story, don't check out. Anyways, focus. So if anybody else has any laws in general that they break, please do make a video or put it in the comments. There are more violations that they do, and I will continue to add to this, but I think we should brainstorm on attack templates. I have templates, legal ones. I have been fighting these guys for 3 years, and I have the civil lawsuit. It's on its third amended complaint. They tried to sideswipe me on that one. Yeah, we won't go there right now. But they pretty much backburnered it because if I win, it's a game changer. Because, yeah, I did it. And I've gone pro se, and I did the habeas corpus. And I had 2 questions of law. And the Supreme Court of the United States won't see this. They just refuse because they know what it means. And why haven't we shut them down yet as a whole? Because you know how many people are employed by the HHS? That will severely damage our economy. And we're already being attacked from the outside. So we cannot risk any weakening of our infrastructure, if that makes sense. So hang tight. This is up to the people to do together. I think the main focus is risk. We need to do a big over umbrella law that says you cannot act on risk, period. Until something is done wrong, leave us the hell alone. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.